Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first Off the Lips of this year. Very exciting. So for those of you who are new, is there anyone new who hasn't seen an Off the Lips before? You, yes, welcome. Thanks for coming. So Off the Lips is our weekly speaker session that we do here at the Green Room, where we invite members or visitors to speak on passion projects, interests, stories, how-tos. We like to share knowledge with our community and with our members. We're all about that here. So this week we have Roslynn, who's come to speak to us. She's a registered dietitian, and she studied through the International Olympics Committee, and she will be speaking about research that she conducted while she was studying there, but I'm sure she's going to tell us a little bit more about that. So everybody, let's give a round of applause for Roslynn. Also, just before I forget, I've got this really sweet little microphone, and at the end we're going to have a short Q&A session. And just give me a chance to hand this microphone over to you, or you can pass it to each other, just so that we can get the questions recorded as well, so everybody can watch it again later and hear your questions nice and clearly again. Okay, yay for Roslynn.
Cool. Afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome, Amber. It's really, really nice to be here and to start off your Off the Lip session. So, like Amber said, I'm a dietitian. I grew up in Johannesburg. I studied to be a dietitian in Pretoria, and then after that I wanted to get into sports nutrition. So I went through the IOC, International Olympics Committee, and our final project of the year we had to choose any sport and research the nutritional requirements for that sport. So that happened to be the year I moved to Jeffreys Bay. And I was like, okay, well, I'm from Joburg. Let me see what the fuss is about when it comes to surfing. And I did a lot of research. I spoke to a lot of surfers, and it was super, super interesting. So I'm just going to share some of those insights with you guys today. Very casual. You can ask me lots of questions at the end. But yeah, let's get going. Okay, so I'm sure we've all heard that phrase, you are what you eat. Yeah, so in the literal sense of it, all the substances that you put into your body every day, everything you eat, is broken down and reassembled into your cells, your bones, your muscles, basically everything that makes up you. So we are very much what we eat. So I thought I'll just ask a question. Why do we eat? Does anyone know? Give me a reason why we eat. To survive, to stay alive. Yes? Energy, yeah, so that's the big one. So we eat for many different reasons. There's a lot of cultural and social things related to food, you know, from all different cultures, and we know we sit around a table as a family and friends and we eat food. But yeah, mostly it's to survive. So it fuels your brain, it fuels your body. It allows you to concentrate, to work, to get up in the morning and do what you need to do. So yeah, that's essentially why we eat. So then there's this concept of energy balance. So I want you to think of the human body as an energy system. So every time you are eating something, you're putting energy into your body to be able to do something, right? So the idea is that you want to maintain this energy balance, not necessarily every day. Some days you're going to eat more and exercise less. Other days you're going to exercise more and eat less, or eat less, vice versa. So basically we want to establish this balance over a longer period of time. And also just to remember that your body needs energy just to exist. So just lying down, getting up to make your morning coffee, you need calories. So for example, a 70 kg person would need about 2,000 calories, you know, just to exist before you add any exercise on. Okay, so just remember, you need to fuel your body before you even start thinking about exercise. You need to fuel your body just to survive. Okay, so now let's look at the nutritional demands of surfing. So if you look at 1 hour of recreational surfing, you'll burn about 500 calories easy on an easy 1 hour out there. As soon as you are in a more competitive environment, or the conditions are a little bit more difficult, or you're really paddling out there, you can burn up to 800 calories just in a single session. Okay, so now think you're your 70 kg person, you're having your 2,000 calories per day. Cool, now add another 500. Okay, you're surfing for 3 hours, add 1,500 calories. That is how much energy you need when you are surfing, and a lot of people fall short on that. So it's just something to keep in mind. And then if you're thinking about physiologically what surfing is, it's an aerobic and an anaerobic sport. Aerobic means it uses oxygen, so those are your long endurance paddles. Aerobic, or anaerobic, sorry, is more the explosive movements. So when you're paddling for the wave, you're popping up, you're doing your hard maneuvers. You need a lot of explosive energy for that. So when you look at surfing as a whole, it's categorized as a high intensity, intermittent exercise. So very energy demanding. Okay, so that brings us to my favorite topic in the world, food and nutrition. So the role of nutrition in exercise, so obviously in surfing as well, is huge in exercise. It boosts performance, it reduces fatigue, it helps with recovery, and it also supports muscle health. So I think if you're eating properly, you should be able to feel good, feel healthy enough to go out there and surf. You should recover quickly so you can go back out there as soon as you can, and also just to maintain overall health. So you're a better surfer, you're a healthier person, also just because of nutrition. So it really plays such a supportive role in exercise. Okay, so then what happens if we don't fuel the system? If you're not fueling your lineup, you can get something we call low energy availability. So that means you're not eating enough food to support the exercise that you're doing, or basically your activities of daily living. So there's a shortage of calories there. So this can cause a lot of health issues. It can damage your hormones, your immune function, your bone health. It's very common in athletes, especially for runners, gymnasts, and surfing as well, actually, especially in females. So there was a study done recently. It was quite a small sample size, but of the 21 surfers that they tested, 57% of them were at risk of low energy availability. So not eating enough to fuel their sessions and just to stay healthy. So an imbalance of the balance that we want. Signs of low energy availability, I'm sure some of you have felt this way sometimes before if you've been training a lot and then you have that burnout, that crash afterwards. So low energy availability, you can feel fatigued, you don't recover as well, you don't concentrate as well, reduces your athletic performance, irritable, you have mood swings, frequent illness, so getting a constant cold when you're training really hard, that's very common. Women tend to have irregular or missed periods. Men have a lower libido. Hair loss is frequent, and also feeling cold is another symptom of low energy availability. So just things to look out for. And then this is a lot of numbers, but these are the nutritional requirements for surfing. Basically how it works is it goes through each nutrient, carbs, protein, and gives you the grams per kilogram body weight of a person, and then that's how, as a dietitian, you would work out somebody's requirements. But I won't go into too much detail there. We'll just go through each one. Do we know the basic nutrients? Do we know what carbohydrates are? Protein. Okay. So carbs are the primary fuel for all exercise. So especially in surfing, anything that is high intensity or involves endurance, you want carbohydrates. It's our body's preferred source of energy. Protein is obviously quite a famous one for sport, especially for after sport. You want to build and maintain your muscles. When it comes to fat and vitamins and minerals, for surfing, it's not different to the general population. So your requirements are pretty much the same. It's 30% of your total calorie intake for fat. Generally, we'd like a healthier fat, from your nuts and your plant oils and seed oils, and vitamins and minerals, 100% of your daily recommended intake for the general population. So it's pretty much the same. And then fluids, water, I don't know if it's really a nutrient, but it is very, very important when it comes to exercise and surfing as well. My husband, sitting over there, he's a surfer as well, and he cramps a lot because he doesn't drink enough water before he trains. So just a little bit of tips on how to avoid dehydration when you're training. Before an event or before you're surfing, the night before, have 500 mils of fluid. When you wake up, have another 500 mils. 20 to 30 minutes before your session, before your heat, have another 500 mils. I know it sounds like a lot, but remember you lose a lot of fluid when you're training, especially in intense training. And then obviously when you get out, you want to replenish those fluids as quickly as possible. When you do take fluids in, when we're thinking about hydration, combining the fluids with carbohydrates and electrolytes is better for hydration than just having fluid by itself. So try to combine them. Have a sports drink, have something that has added electrolytes or carbohydrates in. Okay, and then what does this look like on the plate? So balanced eating, that's called the plate model. So not everybody sits down and eats a plate with all the different components. It's just a nice visualization of what your meal should look like. You'd want a quarter of it to be whole grains or carbohydrates, a quarter of your plate to be protein, and then the other half should be for fruits and veg, and then dairy on the side. But it can look like anything. It can look like a plate. It can be a sandwich with, a protein, a fat, and some veggies in. It can be a smoothie. Research has shown that a lot of surfers have inadequate diets. They tend to not eat enough fruits and veggies. They tend to not eat enough carbs to fuel their sessions. Okay, so it's also just something to keep in mind there. Okay, now for the recommendations. So what do you need to eat as a surfer to fuel your performance? You want to eat 4 to 6 balanced meals or snacks spread out through the day to maintain energy. You want to include a variety of nutrient-dense foods, so your low GI carbohydrates, so those are like your whole grains, your oats. For sustained energy, you want lean protein, so chicken, if you're vegetarian, plant-based protein instead. Fruits and vegetables for vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And then we don't want to skip meals or restrict calories, because this can lead to low energy availability. And if you want to be a better surfer, you can't restrict calories. I think we've also shown that as well. You need to fuel your body, you need to fuel your lineup. Okay. And then hydration, we spoke a bit about that, so I'm not going to go into that again. And then carbohydrates are my favorites. Please don't cut out your carbohydrates when you are training. It's very, very important. I'm sure you've heard of the concept of carbohydrate loading before. So before a competition generally, or running, I'm a runner more than a surfer, but carb loading is very important. So you don't have to do it for 3 days before you train. A lot of people say, okay, for 3 days before I need to pack myself with pizza and pasta. It's not that deep. Just 24 hours before, increase your portion sizes of your carbohydrates if you can, or add some carbohydrate-rich snacks just the day before you surf, just to optimize performance. Basically, it fuels up your muscles, fills it with carbohydrates, so you have more to use when you are surfing. And then in general, if you're choosing carbohydrates, choose a lower GI carb for your main meals. So have a whole wheat bread, brown rice, those sort of things. But if you are training, don't be afraid to have a high GI carb or something that is a bit higher in sugar, because you do want something, your body needs to be able to access energy quickly, especially when you're doing intense training. So don't be too afraid of avoiding all sugar completely. Generally, we want nice, healthy, high fiber carbohydrates, but yeah, don't be afraid of the high sugary ones as well. Okay, and then protein. Humans tend to digest protein better throughout the day than just one big meal. So a lot of people will have a big protein portion in the evening, but it's actually better if you combine a protein with every single meal or every snack if you can. It just allows your muscles to have access to those amino acids for muscle recovery for longer. So that's just something there with protein. And you want to aim for about 2 grams per kilogram body weight per day. And then fat, keep fat intake moderate, especially around the time of training. If you're going to go out on the board, don't have a greasy cheeseburger and chips and things just before you go out there. I'm sure we've all experienced a bit of a negative situation when you do that. So yeah, just look out on your fat intake and don't have it around the time that you're training. Okay, almost done, sorry. So fueling the lineup, so now this is what you're going to do if you have a big surf coming up. Okay, so before you want carbs, so that's your carb loading or your pre-event meal or your snack. You want fluids and you want electrolytes. During is a little bit difficult. You're not going to eat a cheeseburger on the wave. So when you can, when you're coming in for a break between heats, eat something as soon as you can. Carbs, fluids, and electrolytes again. You don't eat protein yet. And then after your session, when you're done, carbs, fluids, electrolytes, and then you add your protein, okay, for recovery. So that's in a nutshell what you need to do to make sure you're fueling and recovering properly. Okay, then I thought I'll just bring some examples in to make it a bit easier. This is Dave. He's AI. He's a 30-year-old, 70 kg surfer. He generally surfs for 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour in the evening. His energy requirements are there. I mentioned if you add the requirements for surfing, he needs about 3,500 calories per day to fuel himself. So that's quite a lot. And then there's his carbs, protein, and fat requirements. And then this is what it looks like in terms of food. So for breakfast, he has oats, a banana, peanut butter, milk, and a glass of water. Then he surfs. Then he has another snack. Then he has a nice balanced lunch. Before he goes out again for his second session, he eats again. He has another snack. Then he has dinner and then a late night snack. So he's eating constantly. It does look like a lot of food, but this actually adds up to his requirements. So think now if you skip a meal, how you are setting yourself back. Okay. And then I'll include another example. This is Sally. She's also AI. She's a 45-year-old woman. She's 57 kgs. She surfs just for 1 hour a day, and she's a vegetarian. So those are her nutrient requirements there. And then this is what her meal or her day would look like. So again, before she surfs, she has a nice snack, toast with honey. She has a breakfast, a snack, lunch, snack, dinner, and a snack. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to, people tend to eat a lot less on days that they're not training or their training is lower. You don't need to do that. Remember, you have to fuel your body. And when you are recovering, your energy needs are still high. Okay, so just make sure that you are eating frequently. Okay, and then just travel tips. I'm sure people at the green room know you travel a lot. Okay, remember, if you are traveling a lot, you want to pack healthy snacks and even supplements for remote locations where nutritional options may be limited. Flying actually increases your fluid requirements. So if you're on a long flight, you need to make sure you're drinking enough fluids. And then plan meals ahead so you can avoid being reliant on foods at the event venues. J-Bay is quite nice. There are some nice healthy options as well, but it's not always available everywhere. So just something to keep in mind. And yeah, key takeaways: health is wealth, food is fuel, and fuel your ride. And that's me. Cool. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
All right, just a quick question. In terms of, say, you're training for something, but you also want to lose weight, how would you approach that?
Okay.
Asking for a friend.
Yeah. So we know the picture of the energy balance, calories in, calories out. If we want to lose weight, we need to tip it to the one side. We need to increase exercise and decrease intake so that it goes into the area of weight loss. However, you need to do this safely. So very strict restrictions are not great. You want to maybe prioritize protein to avoid losing muscle too quickly. Healthy weight loss is between 500 grams to 1 kilogram a week. You don't want to go more than that. So you would restrict by between 500 and 1,000 calories overall every day. But then again, eat around your session so that you don't feel unwell. If you're planning a big surf in the morning, eat most of your food in the morning and then maybe taper it out in the afternoon. But yeah, decrease slowly, prioritize protein, I'd probably say. Yeah. Anyone else?
Thanks. I've got a quick question. So obviously with the dietitian, as you plan the food and the meals, you were talking about the different sort of, you put the food plates on there and how you need to determine your portions of your food.
Yeah.
So the quick question is now, obviously everything's sort of been turned upside down with the new food pyramid. How has that impacted your sort of belief? First of all, obviously the base of where you come from, of your studying and your principles, and how has that impacted sort of currently how you feel about it or your view? And is that having any impact or change to what you would suggest based on the new?
So what do you think about the upside down? I missed that first part.
Oh, so with the new food pyramid, that's been sort
the
of...
new food pyramid.
Yeah, so obviously turned it upside down. So it's the opposite way. So I almost imagine initially, obviously we've had the previous food pyramid for almost ever, and a lot of maybe the baseline of where our food understanding, even out of studying dietitian, would have been based possibly on some of those principles that were approved.
Yeah.
Has that impacted the way you view things now, or maybe even how you, for what you've done for surfers, would you change some things based on that?
It does. So everyone's very unique. So remember, every individual has different energy and nutrient needs as well. And sometimes things work better for one person and it won't work for another person. So it is very individualized. So I think in terms of how it's changed my view is that I'm much more open-minded to different ways of doing things. I'm still a little bit conservative in my views, where I use not the old research, it's strong, consistent research about how things should be. I like the old food pyramid, but I am open-minded about how other people work. Some people really don't do well on carbs, and they want to decrease that to a certain extent. So, then I'll try and make that work for them. But yeah, I am quite traditional in my beliefs, but I do a lot of research, especially in the sports phase. They publish position statements. So the International Olympics Committee will post a position statement on what you need for exercise, and then I'll kind of go by that. So sources that I like to use, but like you say, you do have to be open-minded. My brother and my sister-in-law are vegans and very passionate about their food, and they also have their own way of seeing things, and that's also helped me open my eyes a little bit to different ways of eating. And I mean, everyone's a human, everyone eats, so everyone's got something that works for them. So yeah, that's basically all I can say on that. Yeah.
How long should you wait after you've eaten before you go train?
So it depends on individuals. Generally, so they call it the pre-event meal. So they say 1 to 4 hours before you exercise or you train, you should have your last main meal. But 1 to 4 hours is quite a big gap. And then generally you want that one to be high in carbohydrates, low in fiber, low in fat, and low in protein, because of gastrointestinal upset as well. You don't want to be loading on a huge oat bowl 10 minutes before you go out there. You're going to feel heavy, you're not going to feel great. So I'd say 1 hour is probably the safest. But I know it's difficult because some people wake up, they grab their board and they go in the sea, so it is difficult to do. But yeah, 1 to 4 hours before is generally a good time. Yeah.
I hope it makes sense, but like you explained, you have obviously using long muscle fibers and short muscle fibers, so the explosive during surfing. How do you maintain the threshold of when you push past the threshold of your body needing a lot of energy? I've heard the theory that it would kind of just skip the food in your stomach, or does it skip the food in your stomach and kind of just go for your muscles and the proteins so that it can execute a lot of energy? When does that happen, if it happens at all?
So your body has different ways of getting energy in, right? So for endurance exercise, the paddling or the long-term exercise, you are mostly using fat, actually intramuscular fat. As soon as the intensity goes up, your need for carbohydrates increases. So it's coming from all different places. It is coming from your stomach, but in those explosive moments, it uses phosphocreatine first, which is a energy source that's housed in your muscles, but that's just for the first few seconds. So it gives you that edge for those few seconds, and then after the phosphocreatine, it uses your glycogen, so your sugar stores in your muscles. That's the next part that it uses. And then obviously what's in your gut is constantly being put into your bloodstream, so you're using a little bit of that as well. So eating before your sessions spares muscle glycogen, so it keeps your fuel in your muscles a little bit longer because you're putting sugar in your bloodstream at the same time. Does that make sense?
Oh, that helps.
So it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you taken up surfing since you lived here, moved here?
I've tried.
Okay.
I've tried.
Well, let me put it this way. If you had, do you think your body would be confused because you eat a certain way for running? You mentioned you run. So if you take up surfing and run less and surf more, or do equal of both, is the body confused about what it needs to take in, or is it just a simple matter of what I have to put out, I have to put in?
It wouldn't change that much. I suppose it depends on your training. So an hour of Recreational surfing is pretty much the same as our recreational running, where you're able to talk when you run. And the same with intensity. If it's intense surfing, it's the same as intense running. So you would fuel it kind of similar.
Okay.
Yeah, general rule, fuel around the time of training. Yeah. So whatever you're doing.
Thank you.
Many of the things that you've mentioned could be applicable to many athletes doing similar sort of endurance with little intervals of bursts. Did you by any chance notice any impact of the fact that surfers are sitting in salt water for most of their training, as opposed to other sports where you're not in salt water?
Salt water specifically?
Yeah.
I'm
Just
not
out of
sure.
curiosity. Nothing.
No, I haven't thought about that. Haven't thought about that, no.
Okay.
Good question, though.
Actually, piggybacking on this question, because you said, the calorie count. Did you consider that cold water makes you freeze, and when you freeze, you also need a lot of energy?
Yes.
Was that factored into your calculation?
Yeah, so it will depend. Everything is very individualized. So what I showed you guys was very much basic. A dietitian would take that individual person, see how much they weigh, they'll put them on an in-body scale, see how much muscle they have, see how much fat they have, measure their energy requirements based on that, and then look at what they're doing. If they're in cold conditions, they would have to eat more. Maybe they would have a little bit more fat mass compared to someone who's surfing in warmer conditions. So it really is quite individualized. Yeah.
You mentioned that we should fuel before practicing.
Yeah.
And I've heard that if you go on an empty stomach surfing for like early morning sessions, for example, you burn fat, but it kind of contradicts what you said, that it will take from the muscle because it's easily accessible. So what's the...
So fasted sessions people can do. You do it in running as well. When they say you burn fat, it's not necessarily like the fat on your bum. It's the intramuscular fat. And the thing is with fat, it's an endless fuel source. We've got a lot of it. Humans have a lot of it in their bodies. If you only exercised on fat, you could go forever. But then we've got lactic acid coming in from muscle pain, and then that's why we stop and that's why we get tired. But fasted training, you do burn more fat. You become better at burning fat, but then you become less efficient at burning carbohydrates, if that makes sense. So remember, your gut's also a muscle. You need to train your gut. So Louise Burke, she's this Australian nutrition dietitian, and she did a lot of work on this. She called them the supernova studies, because obviously keto was becoming such a big thing. And she took a bunch of race walkers, she put them in a camp, and she made half of them do keto, half of them do carbohydrates, and she looked what happened to their metabolism. And for the people who were on keto or did the fasted training, they were better at burning fat, which is a great fuel source for endurance. They were better at it. They could see the metabolism was better. But then when it came to performance, they weren't able to digest the carbohydrates as well as the group that continued to have carbohydrates. And the problem is nothing is beating carbohydrates in terms of how it boosts performance. So they kind of lose that little boost, if that makes sense. But an occasional fasted session is not going to cause harm, but it might make you a bit slower to recover, for example. Yeah. There's one over there. Do you want me to?
Okay, one more question. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, in terms of a gluten-free diet, the kind of carbs that you get from something like bread, if you use gluten-free bread, are you going the same amount of carbs in gluten-free bread as you are with normal bread?
Yeah. So carbs you can honestly get from your preferred source of carbs. If it's a potato, if it's a slice of bread, it's really, really up to you. There is a lot of research that if you combine different types of carbohydrates, it's better for, your body's able to access it better. So fructose and glucose. So fructose is from fruit sugar. Glucose would be from your bread or for your potato or whatever. If you combine those two, you're giving your body two avenues to access that energy. So that's why we say have a slice of bread with jam on it, because now you've got two different carbohydrate types. But your carbs can come from anywhere. If you want an energy bar because you don't have time, if you want a fruit, if you want a slice of bread, whatever's the most convenient for you, yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Roslynn. Everyone, let's give a hand of applause. Also, I do think you will be around for a bit more of the day. So if you guys have any questions,
you're more than welcome
like
to come up.
Speak to Roslynn, I'm sure she'll appreciate it. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
That was so good.
Was it okay?
It was so good. I feel like I learned so much.
Oh, I'm glad.
Really?
Was it okay? Okay. Good.
I was a bit nervous. I was also nervous, and then I was like, clap, what's the Q&A? And I was like, fuck, Amy, you should have left that to the end. But thank you, you handled that beautifully. Wow, that was cool.